Imagine waking up one day and realizing you've been sleepwalking through your own life. You follow the same routines, react the same ways, fall into the same emotional traps, like a character in a movie whose script was written by someone else. You tell yourself you're making choices, but deep down, you know the truth. You're not choosing, you're repeating. The same fights, the same self-sabotage, the same hollow victories that leave you emptier than before. And the most unsettling part? You can't pinpoint when it started. You can't trace the exact moment you handed over the reins of your life to something else, something hidden, something automatic. You just know that no matter how hard you try to change, you keep circling back to the same patterns, like a prisoner pacing the walls of a cell you can't even see. What if I told you that this isn't a personal failure? That it's not a lack of discipline, not a flaw in your character, not some cosmic punishment for not being good enough? What if, instead, this is the work of an invisible force, one that Carl Jung spent his life uncovering, a force so deeply woven into your psyche that you mistake it for you? Think about it. Why do you keep attracting the same kind of toxic relationships, even when you swear this time will be different? Why does success taste like ash in your mouth the moment you achieve it? Why do you feel like an imposter in your own life, like you're wearing a mask you can't take off? Jung called this force the unconscious, the submerged part of your mind that dictates everything while you remain convinced you're in control. It's the reason you freeze when you should speak up, chase people who hurt you, destroy what you love just before it can fulfill you. This isn't just psychology. This is the reason your life feels like a record stuck on repeat. And the most terrifying truth? You don't even know it's happening. Because the unconscious doesn't announce itself. It doesn't whisper warnings or flash neon signs. It operates in silence, pulling your strings while you rationalize every decision as your own. That's why you can read all the self-help books, attend all the seminars, swear up and down that this time you'll change, and still, somehow, end up right back where you started. Because you're not fighting habits. You're not battling laziness or a lack of motivation. You're fighting an entire hidden program running in the background of your mind. A program installed by the parent whose love felt conditional, the teacher who told you what you were allowed to be, the first heartbreak that rewired your nervous system to expect pain. And here's the thought that should shake you to your core. You've never met the real you. Not the you buried beneath expectations, adaptations, and survival mechanisms. Not the you that existed before the world told you who to be. Jung put it best. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Let that sink in. Every frustration, every cycle of self-sabotage, every relationship that crumbles in the exact same way, none of it is an accident. It's not bad luck. It's not destiny. It's your unconscious. You'll have to face the parts of yourself you're most ashamed of. The jealousy that burns in your chest when someone else succeeds. The neediness that makes you text someone 17 times when they don't respond. The resentment that poisons every relationship you touch. The bitterness that has calcified around your heart like scar tissue. These aren't flaws. They're messages. Carl Jung called this collection of rejected parts the shadow. And what most people never realize is that the shadow isn't some demonic force trying to ruin your life. It's you, the parts of you that had to be buried alive so you could be loved, the emotions you were punished for expressing, the instincts you were shamed into silencing. Think about the last time you smiled when you wanted to scream, said, "I'm fine," when you were drowning, pretended not to care when you were devastated. These aren't just moments of weakness. They're evidence of a psychological amputation, parts of your soul cut away so you could fit into the world around you. But here's what no one tells you. What you disown doesn't disappear. It goes underground. That explosive anger you're so afraid of? It didn't vanish when you learned good people don't get mad. It just mutated into passive aggression, into self-sabotage, into 1,000 subtle ways you punish yourself and others without ever admitting why. Nietzsche saw this truth centuries before modern psychology. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster. And when you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's your disinherited self, the child who learned to swallow their truth to survive, the teenager who buried their wildness to be accepted, the adult who now wonders why they feel. You don't have a shadow. You are a shadow of the person you could have been if you hadn't learned to cut yourself into pieces to fit in, and the cost of this self-betrayal is far greater than you realize. The emotional tax of a divided self. Every time you silence your anger to keep the peace, a part of you hardens. Every time you perform happiness when you're breaking inside, your capacity for real joy shrinks. Every time you swallow your truth to avoid rejection, you poison your own vitality. This isn't metaphor. It's biology. Studies on emotional suppression show suppressed emotions increase cortisol, the stress hormone, by up to 50%. Chronic emotional avoidance shrinks the hippocampus, memory center. Unexpressed anger correlates with higher rates of autoimmune disease. Your body keeps score, even when your mind lies to itself. The relationship paradox. Here's the cruel joke your unconscious plays. You attract people who confirm your deepest wounds. You reject people who could actually love you because their love feels unfamiliar. This explains why the secure partner feels boring after dating emotionally unavailable people. Kindness can trigger suspicion if you were raised with conditional love. Success often precedes self-sabotage when worthiness wasn't modeled for you. As psychiatrist Peter Levine observed, trauma is not what happens to us, but what we hold inside in the absence of an empathetic witness. Your nervous system would rather replay familiar pain than risk unknown love, because at least the pain makes sense. The success trap. Consider this haunting truth. Many people achieve their dreams only to discover the dream wasn't theirs. The law student who becomes a miserable attorney. The entrepreneur who builds a company she hates. The artist who stops creating after making it. Why? Because we don't pursue goals. We pursue the feelings we believe those goals will give us. And when the achievement arrives, but the feeling doesn't, that's when the real crisis begins. The generational echo. Your unconscious isn't just shaped by your past, it carries your parents' unlived lives, your grandparents' survival strategies, centuries of cultural conditioning, that unexplained anxiety. It might be your great-grandmother's famine survival instinct, that terror of failure, possibly your immigrant ancestors' trauma. As Jung noted, nothing affects the life of the child so much as the unlived life of the parent. The spiritual bankruptcy. The ultimate cost of living at war with yourself? You become a stranger in your own life. You scroll through photos of yourself wondering who that person is. You hear yourself laugh and recognize the sound as performance. You achieve milestones that should bring joy, but feel nothing. This is what Kierkegaard called the sickness unto death, the despair of being disconnected from one's true self. The turning point. These consequences aren't punishments, they're alarms. Your psyche would rather have you confront these painful truths than let you spend another decade living someone else's life. Because here's the secret your unconscious already knows. The way out isn't around your shadow, it's through it. And that brings us to the most counterintuitive truth of all. You've spent your life trying to fix yourself. What if the solution was never about repair, but about rebellion? Not against the world, against the invisible prison of your own unconscious, against the stories you inherited but never chose, against the life you tolerate because the life you truly want feels forbidden. This is where real transformation begins, not with another self-improvement tactic, but with psychological insurrection. The lie you've been fed. This is just who you are. Your mind has been colonized by parents who projected their unlived lives onto you, by education systems that rewarded compliance over curiosity, by culture that profits from your self-doubt. The first act of rebellion? Question what you've assumed was just the way things are. That chronic anxiety, not your personality, a nervous system trained for threat detection. That imposter syndrome? Not humility, internalized messages that you're too much or not enough. Your relationship patterns? Not bad luck. Unconscious reenactments of childhood attachment wounds. Rebellious exercise. For 1 week, track every time you say or think, "I'm just someone who..." That's not me. I could never. These aren't truths. They're psychological handcuffs you've mistaken for identity. The counterintuitive key: stop trying to change paradox alert. The harder you fight your shadows, the more power you give them. Resisting fear amplifies it. Shaming neediness entrenches it. Judging your anger fuels it. Jung's revolutionary alternative: radical acceptance. When you let anxiety exist without labeling it bad, allow loneliness without rushing to numb it, witness your flaws without condemnation, their grip loosens. Why? Because what you cease to resist loses its control over you. Rebellious practice. Next time a negative emotion arises, locate it physically, e.g., tight chest, knotted stomach. Breathe into that space. Whisper, "You're allowed to be here." This isn't passive surrender. It's strategic disarmament of your inner civil war, rewilding your psyche. Modern life has domesticated you, cut you off from your intuition, too illogical, your anger, too unladylike, your vulnerability, too weak. Rebellion means reclaiming your primal intelligence, that gut feeling you ignore, your body's wisdom, the rage you suppress, a boundary violation alert, the sadness you hide, a signal of what matters to you. Rebellious experiment. For 24 hours, say, "I don't know." Instead of faking certainty, express one genuine emotion you'd normally mask. Follow one impulsive yes. That doesn't harm you or others. This is how you reactivate instincts capitalism tried to erase. The nuclear option: betray your conditioning. Your unconscious rules through one threat. If you change, you'll lose love, safety, belonging. Time to call its bluff. Strategic betrayal examples. The good child starts saying no. The people pleaser lets someone down. The perfectionist shares unfinished work. Expect internal backlash. Your mind will scream you're making a mistake. That's how you know it's working. Rebellious mantra: I am willing to disappoint others rather than betray myself. The ultimate rebellion. Choose aliveness over approval. Every day you face a silent coup. The part of you that wants to fit in versus the part that knows you're meant for more victory doesn't come from defeating one side, but from promoting the rebel within to leadership. This looks like replacing "should I do this?" with "does this make me feel more alive?" Trading goals that look good for ones that feel true, letting relationships shift as you stop performing. The turning point. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before they told you who to be. The patterns you fought weren't enemies. They were prison guards. Now you hold the key. Here is the revelation that changes everything. You are not broken. You are unfinished. All those years you spent hating your shadows, cursing your patterns, raging against your own mind, you were misunderstanding the assignment. This wasn't failure. This was initiation. The anxiety that wakes you at 3 a.m., it's your unlived life knocking. The rage that scares you with its intensity, it's your buried integrity demanding expression. The emptiness after achievement, it's your soul rejecting counterfeit purpose. Jung's most radical insight wasn't about fixing the self, it was about surrendering to the self's becoming. The alchemy of wholeness. True transformation doesn't come from more discipline, better affirmations, another productivity hack. It comes from the shocking act of turning toward what you've spent a lifetime avoiding. When you let your anger speak its truth without acting it out, allow your neediness to exist without shame. Welcome your imperfections as features, not bugs. Something miraculous happens. The energy once spent suppressing these parts becomes available for creating. This is what the alchemists understood. The lead of your shadow contains the gold of your genius. The paradox of freedom. The ultimate liberation isn't self-mastery, it's self-reconciliation. The parts you've been at war with. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's your antenna. Your stubbornness isn't defiance, it's your boundaries in larval form. Your dark humor isn't cynicism, it's wisdom that stopped pretending. As Jungian analyst James Hollis puts it, we do not solve our problems, we outgrow them. We add capacities and experiences that eventually make us bigger than the problems. Your new operating system. This is how you rewrite the program. Shadow archaeology. When triggered, ask, what childhood wound does this echo? Track your reactions like a detective solving a mystery. Sacred witnessing create daily space to be with, not fix, your emotions. Let them move through you like weather ritual rebellion. Do one small thing daily that defies your conditioning. Wear what you want, say no without apology, exist unedited ancestral reclamation. Identify the generational patterns you're here to break. Live the parts of yourself your ancestors had to hide. The final truth. Your darkness isn't the obstacle to your light, it's the doorway. Every flaw contains a sacred assignment. Your chaos holds your creativity. Your neediness guards your capacity for love. Your rage protects your tenderness. This is what the mystics meant by, the wound is where the light enters you. You've spent years trying to climb out of your shadows. What if you were meant to mine them for their gold? The life you want isn't ahead of you. It's buried beneath the versions of yourself you abandoned to be loved. This is your invitation. Stop trying to escape yourself. Start becoming what you already are.